Okay, so for today's creative coffee hour, we are going to just practice some drawing. Everybody is always telling me when they see my work that they wish they could draw. And what I tell them every time, because it's true, is that if they want to learn to draw, they can. Anybody can learn to draw. So, um, one of my favorite things to do when I have my half hour to be creative is to find an object around my house and draw it. Because it's almost Halloween, I'm gonna draw this super wacky pumpkin. It is very oddly shaped, so that should make for a good, interesting, amusing drawing for me. I'll find a good angle on this guy. Put him like that. And I'm just drawing on plain white paper using pencil. So no special supplies, nothing fancy needed. You could use printer paper if that's what you have. And for pencils, what you're going to want is a nice soft pencil and then an eraser. That's actually all that you need. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this really soft pencil, and the first thing I'm going to do is actually tone my entire page so that the whole page has, so I take all the white away, and then we're going to draw on that. Now, if you happen to be somebody who has like toned paper, then you wouldn't need to do this step, but I want to make sure this is accessible to everybody. So anybody can do this. You just take a nice soft pencil, and what we're doing is just laying down some nice fine pencil. We're going to kind of smudge this. So it doesn't have to be perfect. And I'm just quickly using the side of the pencil to just tone the paper. You do want to use fairly smooth paper, like probably construction paper is not a good choice for this. Printer paper would be better if you don't have drawing paper. Um, and yeah, I'm just shading the whole page, and you'll see why in a minute. Sometimes when we're drawing, it's really hard to take 3D things that we see and render them in 2 dimensions. I mean, that's what makes drawing hard. And the way to render 3-dimensional things, sorry, in a 2D composition and have them still look like 3-dimensional things is to focus on volume. So now I'm just taking just a tissue. I'm just kind of blurring out that pencil. So I'm just making a nice toned surface. This is why you want a relatively smooth paper. I'm just using a Canson mixed media, I think. Yeah, Canson mixed media sketchbook. And just kind of, you can see I'm moving that graphite around a lot to just kind of smooth out the shading. And so this is going to let me focus on creating volume instead of just trying to turn the object into lines, because it's not lines, it's a 3-dimensional shape. The toned paper is giving me a starting point, right? Most things that I see are like middle value, and hopefully it's going to make it show up on the camera a little better too. Um, and it's just going to give me something to work off of instead of the white of the page. When I want to get the white back, that's what my eraser's for. You can see I can erase back at least almost to white. Just fill that back in. But this is very forgiving because we can just color it back in. All right. So for me, when I'm looking at a shape like this, What I'm first going to do is close one eye. The reason that I'm closing one eye and why artists do that is it basically takes away some of our depth of field so that we're not actually seeing in 3 dimensions anymore. I mean, it still is kind of 3D, but a little less so. And for me, there's so many different ways that people draw, but for me, what I do best at is kind of feeling out the contours. So you'll see me going around the edges here of this shape. Um, and that it's not the only way to draw. If you ever hear an art teacher say this is the right way, you should be suspicious of them because there's no one right way. There's always more than one way to do anything in art, just like in life. So I'm just feeling my way around the very strange shapes of this pumpkin. It kind of has like globes because it's, or lobes, not globes, lobes. Um, and I don't know why this pumpkin grew this way, but I couldn't resist it when I was buying pumpkins a couple weeks ago. We had a plein air event at a local church that has a pumpkin sale, and this pumpkin just spoke to me. I guess I like things that are a little irregular. Okay, so now I'm just doing the stem, and you can see I'm drawing it fairly slowly. I'm holding the pencil way back and kind of on the side. I'm going to adjust this angle here. And one of the other things I like about doing the tone paper and just taking my time to feel the contours, it keeps me from erasing. So if I went right in trying to draw this to just, I don't know what else I would do, but it keeps me from erasing this method. And that's important because if you start erasing too soon, what you'll find is that you end up making the same mistakes over and over again if you erase too soon. So it's actually really good to take your time, and it's okay to go and draw a line again. Um, Instead of like just immediately erasing when you feel like you made a mistake, leave the mistake in place and then come back to it. So now I'm just drawing in I don't know what these are called. I'm drawing the lines where the pumpkin is dimpled. I don't know all the technical terms here. Hey, if you do, let me know. But I think if you really want to learn how to draw, my top piece of advice is to draw things from life as much as you can. So just go around your house. I think it helps to start with things like this. Pumpkin is great because it's these weird organic shapes. Um, so you can be really irregular about it, and like nobody's going to be like, that's not what that looks like. Whereas if you try to draw something that has really something like super symmetrical or that needs to be like very smooth and precise lines, then it's like the minute you draw one thing inaccurately, the whole thing starts to look wrong. So it does help to start with these kind of funky shapes that, you know, I mean, I guess somebody looking at this can be like, pumpkins don't look like that, but I don't know, this pumpkin looks like this, so. All right, so I've got my basic shapes kind of outlined here. And now what I want to do to give this some of that volume I was talking about is, first of all, I'm going to start to shade and darken some areas with my pencil. So I'm just using that same pencil and I'm not using any fancy techniques here. There's nothing to it. I'm just looking to see where are the shadows. And of course, this is a great thing about pumpkins. Those creases and indents do tend to catch a lot of shadow. So I can start to shade them in. And I'm going to start to just build up that volume. Now, I haven't taken the time to like set up some careful still life setup here. I haven't even I've made no effort to control the lighting, which you certainly could. If you had the time, you could manipulate where you place your item and give it just like a little bit more thought to how you set up there. There's a whole separate art to like properly arranging still lifes. But if you're just doing what I'm doing, which is practicing drawing an object, it doesn't matter as much, right? I'm not I'm not making a piece of art today. I am simply using a little bit of spare time to sharpen up my observational tools in my practicing here. Drawing from photographs is fine, of course, if that's what works for you. I just find that in some ways, when I'm drawing from a photograph, well, for one thing, photographs have done some of the work for you because photographs are two-dimensional and you're going to be doing something two-dimensional. So in that sense, drawing from photographs is a little easier than drawing from life. I'm sorry, I think my light is, there we go. All right, hopefully you can see that a little better. I've moved my light so you can see the shading. Um, so in a photograph, some of the choices have been made for you, and that does simplify things and maybe could help you be more precise. But I just feel like it doesn't, when I draw from photographs, my drawings, they lack some of the energy that I feel when I draw from anything from life, whether I'm drawing a pumpkin or a person. Okay, so there's a lot of texture in this pumpkin. And because I haven't done anything to control the light, there's light, there's reflected light. So I'm just focusing on these areas where things are clearly more in shadow. Over here, there's a lot of like kind of dimpling and interesting things happening. And then this part, this is where it's like another whole separate lobe that comes up. And it's the way the light is hitting, it is really shadowed. So I'm going to try to Just darken it up. While I'm drawing here, I can't help but make a little pitch for my winter watercolor class. I've just gotten word that we're definitely a go for this winter's watercolor class. I have already got quite a few students signed up. So if you are interested in learning watercolor with me, definitely don't delay. We do all of our classes over Microsoft Teams, so you can join from anywhere. We meet on Thursday evenings from 6 to 9 East Coast time. So if you're somewhere else in the world, you'll have to check and see how that lines up. I'm really excited. This year's watercolor class is an all levels class, so not just for beginners this time. And just each week, we're going to focus on techniques. My hope is, as a teacher, is not to just teach people to copy me, but to teach them how to make choices and decisions as artists so that they can create whatever it is that they want to create. And so techniques are the way to do that instead of just imitating me, learning all the different options you have available to you. Okay, so my pumpkin's taking shape here. The stem of the pumpkin is definitely a lighter value. So I'm gonna just use my eraser here and start to pull some of that out and then give it some of its character and texture. It is mostly in the light, except this side. This side is catching shadow. And it has this one little like wisp, and it's dark here where it was cut. But in here, you've got all these little textures. And I've just been doing everything with this one pencil. 6B is a really soft pencil. It's getting all over my hand. Um, you don't need anything fancy. If all you have is like a 2B pencil, like leftover from school days, that will work. It will be a little harder to tone the paper, but no big deal. Okay. Now, I think what I want to do, again, to make this feel a little bit more like a solid object is I really want to put in some dark shadow underneath here. I'm gonna bring it out a little bit and then I'll blend it. It's really dark under this edge. Now, if I weren't recording this, I would probably be turning my paper a bunch instead of like doing awkward things like this with my arm. So feel free to turn your paper, but I'm gonna keep it right side up for you, my few viewers, whoever you are. Okay. So that's looking a little better. Now, I want to need to bring in some more highlights in the pumpkin and then also try to build in some of those textures a little more. So I have a definite highlight occurring like right about here. Sorry, my computer's green shut off and I wasn't sure it was still recording, but it says it is, so very strange. All right, so I have this light hitting here, which makes sense that then as it curves away, it starts to get really shadowed. We're just gonna lift. And a kneadable eraser is really, really good for this, but if you don't have one, any type of eraser will work. Okay, so that's a definite highlight spot. Where else? This is all pretty dark, but got a little bit of highlight here. I haven't gotten this curve coming through, so I'm gonna need to work on that. I did tone the paper kind of hastily, and it's not the smoothest. Uh, okay, so those spots. And I also have a little bit of highlight back here. Get that. Okay. So now let's give this pumpkin some more of its character. I'm gonna just try to give a little bit more of an impression of the shape of some of these spaces. Like here, I've really made a line and I don't want it to be so much of a line. I want it to be a little bit more, showing that the shape. And then you can always give it a little smudge too. If you have like blending stumps, these are great, but I mean, I can get in here with this, that's fine. But I can just use a tissue. You don't need anything special for this. I think the tissue works every bit as well. Okay, so just giving a little bit more of the shape here. Because it's a very curvaceous pumpkin. All right, now I want to get a little bit more of the shapes in here. There's like, it's kind of knobbly, and that's gonna make that feel more like the object in front of me. Just like I tried to get a little bit of that sense down here, where it's a really textured, featured gourd. Maybe it is a gourd and not a pumpkin. I don't know. Just kind of I can keep building up these textures. And then over here, there's like, it's that same sort of thing where it's like dimpled and then bumpy. And some of those bumps actually do catch the light. There's a fair amount of reflected light on here, but we might not have time to get all that. That's okay. So I'm not, as you can see, I'm not like finishing one spot. I'm sort of moving around. And that is how I work as an artist. I don't tend to just focus on one little spot and obsess over it, but I'm kind of working my way around. Um, and gradually building up the picture. And what that means is I'm going to get a fairly like unified kind of overall picture instead of something that, like, if I stop now, it's not totally done, but I feel like you can get the overall feeling of this pumpkin. Whereas if I just like obsessed on, say, getting this stem right, which in like this side still needs to be darker. But if I just obsess about that, um, you know, I don't have tons of time today, right? We're just doing our half hour, and I want to have something at the end of the half hour where I feel like I've captured what I set out to capture. I've lost some of the highlight over here. And I'm just going to give some little dabs of light there. Okay. I want to blur out my shadow a little, give it a softer edge, as we are approaching the end here. And I know somehow the way the light is catching the image on the camera, this looks really blurry here, but let's see if I can move it. There you go. You can see it doesn't look blurry in real life. Just blur that out, and then maybe for the sake of balance, I'll take away some of the tone up above over here. That kind of makes sense, I think. Okay. Just lighten it up. Right, and there we go with our 30-minute wacky monster pumpkin. Not too bad. And having had some creative time, I feel like I can now get back to my day. So I hope you'll give this technique a try of toning the paper and then adding darker tones, but also taking away for the highlights. It's a really fun way to practice your drawing skills and your observation skills. And if you give it a try, let me know. Stay creative, friends.